Hey, gun people! You say you want a revolution. What's up, gun people? So, I've been wanting to do a revolution type video on what's it gonna take. And I'm not saying that it should take something. I'm just saying, what's it gonna take? Now, I kind of backed off on coffee, and I don't really drink it, but maybe a couple times a week. But man, it sure does taste good when I drink it. I went to the store this morning and just grabbed a cup. Hello, Mr. Cow. So people ask, how do you carry sometimes when you're in shorts? I just carry it in my pocket. It's not that big of a deal. Rick, you shouldn't have a gun in your pocket because that's dangerous. Whatever. Shut up, you big dummies. So, how's the revolution going to kick off if there is a revolution? How do most revolutions kick off? Government tyranny, crooked politicians and government stealing from the people, politicians living under a different set of rules from the people, politicians stealing wealth and overtaxing and taking too much control, seizing guns. All those things pretty much are the same before a revolution, which may sound familiar to some of you on what's going on now. Now, if you're a sheeple and a group of sheeple that likes to be controlled and doesn't like freedom and would rather have safety and security, kind of like the UK, and I'm not saying all the UK people are bad. I'm saying, just like here in the US, there's a majority of idiots that don't understand freedom. So when you have a majority of idiots, you elect idiots to represent you. You elect idiots to steal from you. You elect crooked politicians over and over, and then you wonder how a country fails. Now, the U.S. is under this mindset that we'll never fall. We're too big. We're too big to fail. Kind of like the banks and Google and YouTube and all those great. My neighbor's feeding his cows. That's why you're hearing all that moaning, because when he throws them some cubes, they get loud. So this video is kind of like a support group, a sharing of information in the comments, and then I'm going to collect all the comments and put it on a page on my thinklikeacop.org website. So, how are the people going to fight? How do people fight during a revolution? If you look back across time through all the revolutions, how do the people fight a tyrannical government that has seized their guns, made it illegal to carry knives or weapons to defend yourself? The government has armed themselves with the military, police, private security, the special people with money. They have armed themselves to protect them from the crime and corruption, but they have disarmed the good people, so crime and criminals prosper, because they're right along with the politicians who are full of crime and corruption. So the people always fight back with what they have. And most of the times, most people let them get disarmed. Remember, and there's a study, and I can't remember, I've read it in a couple different places, and again, you know, studies are subjective. I know it's not 100%. Somebody's come here, prove it! Prove what you... Shut up, you big dummies. If an armed society, it only takes 3% of the people to overthrow the government. And the theory behind that is, government can only be so big in order to steal from so many people. The people they're stealing from has to be more than government. Otherwise it gets lopsided and government doesn't have any money, because government doesn't produce anything. They can only steal it or rob natural resources and steal from people who are work and produce something. So once governments get bigger than the people, government fails. Which is why big government's always bad, but you can't tell that to a liberal. So 3% of a population that's armed can usually overthrow a tyrannical government. Once it gets below 3% that's armed, you're kind of screwed. Because government will have more power. Now, government already has all the technology, drones, helicopters, airspace, satellites. Government has a huge advantage over the people. And the only reason that we're even got a chance against government is because of our Second Amendment right, that the founders knew that once you disarm the people, government's not held accountable. They have all the power, guns, and control, and they will abuse that power, guns, control on the people. Happens throughout history. You can't give me a people that has existed that it hasn't happened. So for somebody to say it can't happen here, well, they're just being foolish. So what are we going to use against the government if there was a revolution? What people use against government during a revolution is the things available. Usually fuel is always available because government wants people to work, they want them to transport, they want them to move, they want to produce. So they give them large machinery, they give them fuel, they allow them to have things that help the government maintain control. And they take away the things that they can challenge government with. So, bulldozers, all heavy equipment, usually in the private sector. Those are huge obstacles for government. I mean, a bulldozer can take down a building, it can block highways, it can destroy highways, it can take out trenches and block roads. I mean, in all tactics, you want to prevent your enemy from resupplying and having free movement. The more you restrict their movement and ability to supply themselves, the less they're going to be effective in fighting you. Big machinery, huge. I keep a key, and you can order this on eBay. or Amazon, I think, might sell it. I don't remember where I got it, eBay, Amazon. But it's a key to a cat bulldozer machine. And unless they've recently changed it, one key fits all. If you have a key, most people will lock their steering wheel with a padlock because they know one key fits all. So if you have one key to one cat bulldozer, you got it to every backhoe, etc. And I have a key on my keychain. Rick, why do you need a key? I don't know. In case some dude loses his key and I'm out there, I can help him because I want to be a good citizen. That's why. But I digress. So, large machinery, huge. Clear highways, block highways, prevent travel. You know, those are things that people are going to have that government normally won't take away from you. Fuel, you're always going to have fuel. You're going to have oil for your cars and machines, oil and fuels. Tires, there's never a shortage of tires because people need to move. Tires are a great resource. Burn, fill up the eye. So if you can't control the sky, then you control the enemy's ability to see within the sky or from the sky. And you do that by either shooting out their planes or you fill the air with smoke and it gives you cover. Just like in tactics where you throw smoke before you move to cover your movement. If you're fighting a larger enemy and all you have is tires and gas, you burn tires, it makes deep black smoke and it fills the skies. And perfect example, Black Hawk Down. If you watch the movie, Mogadishu, when they were there, Somalis, hey, they took out and took away the effectiveness of the Black Hawk helicopters and their ability to give ground support cover to them, and they had the numbers, and they were armed. So, those are the things that come to mind. Now, of course, in the U.S., as long as we still have our guns, we're going to have their guns. And, of course, the government doesn't want us having guns that are comparable to their guns. We shouldn't have large capacity magazines because large capacity magazines kill. Government has large capacity magazines because it saves people. See the irony? We shouldn't have semi-automatic weapons because they shoot too fast and it increases our ability to kill people. Government should have semi-automatic weapons and automatic weapons because they're here to protect us and help us. Anytime you see that, I mean, it just boggles the mind. Remember, I've been in government my entire life. I joined the military when I was 17. And, I mean, so I understand the way government thinks, the way government protects itself, the way government sees stupid sheep. And if you ever work in government, you know that government sees himself different. As government, I always got special privileges. If they were giving out flu shots, we got to go to the front of the line. We get free coffee and donuts. We get, if you get in trouble and you do something against the law, the government decides not to prosecute you because you work for the government. The government gets to pick and choose. So, I mean, when you're working around government, you know there are benefits to being in government. If I had to go to court, anything I did, if you were a government employee, you were given a higher preference. And anybody that works in government will admit this, or they can lie about it, but it's true. If I dealt with somebody who was in government, they got better privileges or support or secret numbers or who to contact than non-government. I mean, sorry, it's just the way it is. You can be mad at me and say, you're a bootleg jackhammer, whatever, people. Be for real. You got to live in the real world. Don't let these liberals keep convincing you that there's liberal la-la land and you can live in this fake world to where things aren't reality. Liberals love to ignore reality, and they love to live in feelings and what sounds good and equal and acceptance and diversity and love and hiring, you know, a midget to play in the NFL because it shows that you're not being biased, and yet he can't score and he can't make a point and all the tall people pick on him. It's just not fair. And we should have more midgets in the NFL or in the NBA, National Basketball League. So anyway, I digress. So understanding how government works and sees the people, when and if there's a revolution, people use what they have. And if they don't have weapons because the government has seized it and made it illegal, and they've turned the citizens into criminals, which they have now. I just did an article where that dude went online to be a good citizen to register his guns because the government said register it, and as soon as he put in what gun he had to register it legally, they raided his house and stole all his gun and charged him with a felony because one of his guns was shorter than it was supposed to be because there's over 30,000 gun laws on the books, and we're supposed to know them all. And every 30,000 means that they stop gun ownership by tenfold of that 30,000 laws to stop so many people from... Gun control is not about them coming door to door. Gun control is about turning people who own guns, like guns, who want to shoot, into criminals. And how do we do that? We make so many laws about you can't do this, you can't do that. Pretty soon it's going to be if you get a speeding ticket, you can't have a gun because you might have road rage. And then pretty soon if you get a parking ticket, well, you know what? You violated the law. And any violation of law means you can't own a gun. And they're going to slowly shrink the number of gun owners. They're going to make it difficult so the younger generations are like, man, it's a pain in the butt. I got to go get fingerprinted. I got to have a background. I got to do this. Just to get a gun, it's just not worth it. Guess what? Over time, and government always has time on their side because they're there forever. They always have time on their side, and they can do it very gradually, like boiling a frog in water. You won't even know what's happening. And pretty soon, there's going to be very few people that own guns. I mean, they're going to get the guns eventually. They're going to make it illegal. They're going to reduce the number. They're going to make it so difficult. They're going to tax the crap out of it. They're going to put so many... They're going to get the guns. So, they ain't getting my guns, but they're going to get the guns from the people who are new or who want to become new gun owners. So, in the video, I want you to put in the comments what you think, and you can go through history or time or whatever, what you think people do in a revolution to fight a superior power such as the government. Air superiority, technology, resources, natural resources. They're going to, I mean, almost all revolutions, they shut down the cities. Look at Venezuela. I mean, Venezuela is the freaking poster child for corrupt government and how it happens. 4 years before Venezuela went to crap, the government said, we got to get the guns, and they made gun ownership illegal. That is a huge clue that government knows what's coming. They know they're failing. They know the end is near. And they know if they don't get the guns, they can't prolong it. Had they not took the guns, Venezuela would have probably happened 2 or 3 years ago when the government may have been overthrown and the people may be able to defend themselves. But the people went along with the government with their head in the sand, gave up their guns, and now they're eating their pets, they're stealing food, they don't have water. I mean, and they're running to every country. Remember, the U.S. has no country to run. Everybody thinks, oh, we'll just run to Canada, or we'll run to Mexico, they'll help us. Man, that's just fools thinking. I mean, it's not going to work. So, in a revolution, there are going to be things that people can do to fight a superior force. And it's happened in time and in the past, and, you know, burning buildings. And normally revolutions is about disrupting government, making government ineffective. And if you make government ineffective, they can't control. But government knows that. So what do? they come down hard and they run people over with tanks in the street for those who resist, has a message to those others: you better not resist or we'll run you over with a tank. We'll put you in prison. We'll kill you. We'll raid your house. We'll do. I mean, look what they're doing to Trump's lawyer. Got him in isolation. Putting a guy in isolation so he'll cut a deal. I mean, our government is thinking crazy right now. And people just go on with their lives because, hey, we got lives. We're busy. We're making money. We're not making money. We're paying bills. We're trying to make money. We're trying to survive. I mean, life goes on, and government knows that, and that's why government always seizes power. It turns into corruption, and they end up being tyrannical. It's just the way it is. I mean, people want to say, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're trying to incite. I'm not trying to incite. I'm quoting history here. Every government since the beginning of time has turned out to be corrupt, take advantage of the people, and has failed. You can't give me one government that's lasted over time. So it's not that I'm some great predictor and I've had a premonition and I'm psychic. It's look at history and power. Power just draws abuse. You can't help it. That's why it needs to be controlled. It needs to be spread out. The founders knew that. They wanted us to have separation of powers. They wanted the president to only do so much, Congress only do so much, the courts only do so much, and that way they could check and balance. The problem is, as corruption grows and as these positions get filled with the same type, liberal left, corruption, then they all work together, even though it was designed that they would be a check and a balance and hold each other and protect the people and never become this huge power of king and queens over the people to where they can do what they want to the peasants. I mean, we're there. I mean, we're not fighting in the streets and everything, but I mean, our government is so out of control, and I just don't see how we get it back under control. I mean, there's just no way. They won't let us do term limits. That we can't kick people out there in Congress, and Pelosi and Reid, 30 years sitting in Congress making laws on others. You get lifetime appointments to the Supreme Court. I mean, the only one that's held in check is the president. He gets 2-year term, and he don't even get that if the liberals don't like him. Shit, Trump's been in office now for 2 or 3 years, or going on 3, whatever, and he still can't do nothing because they've been investigating and stopping him and being a bootleg jackhammer government. And they've had a boot on Trump's neck since he's been in there. And you know what? People just go along because they're all working together. That's why change is good. You need representative people. Government usually works good when it's localized. When I can walk down the street and see my sheriff or my representative, when I see him in the street, when we shop at the same centers, when we live in the same community, that's when government works because they're part of it and they have to live with it. We got representatives in Washington, they don't live with anything. They don't live with any means. They live in their ivory towers of Washington. They have their own barbershop in their place, their own pool, their own gym, their own doctors, their own medical. They're exempt from Obamacare. We have kings and queens in Washington, and people don't want to see it. What do? We send the same people. Why? Because we don't want the other side to win. Because of divide and conquer. The government never wants the people to get together. They want class warfare. They want wage welfare. They want race welfare, disparity. They want these divisions because they know if the people get together, they are outnumbered and they can't fight the people united. That's going to be the biggest thing in a revolution, is getting people to unite together. Most people are going to want to stay on the sidelines. In revolutions, they want to hide. They just want to take care of themselves. You know what? If you don't take an interest in it, it'll take an interest in you. But put in your comments, how is the next revolution, if it happens, how's it going to be fought? What are the tools and what tactics and what are we going to have to do? You know, I mean, you can get long or short. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm going to compile a list and put them all together. Man, it's been 100. It was 113 here yesterday. I was like, whoo, it was smoking. And no wind. You notice there's no wind out here. I always have wind. My pond's way down. It's been hot. It's been over 100 for the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 days out here. I mean, it's just brutal. Last night at 11 o'clock, I was giving the horses some hay, and it was still 95 degrees at 11 o'clock at night. I was like, damn. So anyway, Texas heat. This is a hot June. Yeah. Global warming. Yeah, the sky's falling. Yeah. Now, you know what? It gets hot in Texas, and sometimes we have hotter summers, and sometimes we have cooler summers. Last few summers have been pretty cool. This one happens to be a hot one. It's not because of global warming. Take your rainbow glasses off and stop seeing the world through feel-good hugs, liberal la-la land, keeping you an idiot, and try using your head for more than a damn hat holder. All right? Well, in that there, put your comments. Looking forward to them. Make it educational, please. You know, let's not just say kill them all, let God sort them out and all that crap, shoot them in the head. Yeah. I think the next revolution is probably going to be close to when they're trying to take the guns, but I don't think the government will go door to door to take guns. The ones they want to take the guns from are the people that are speaking out, the people who are talking, the people who are encouraging others to fight back and to push. Government always takes out leaders. In all warfare, you're always taught to take out the guy talking on the radio and the guy giving commands. Because when you take out the top leadership, then the lower leadership tends to get confusion. You have division among troops. There's no real leader keeping them together. And during revolutions, that works to the benefit of the government, because even in our first revolution, we had parties and we had 3 or 4 people going out. We had snipers out on their own, and we basically taking a fight to the enemy. You make it so they can't run their agenda. You make them always adjusting to your agenda. All right, put your comments in there and we'll end out there.